So today I'm gonna start working on my potting table. It's gonna go right here and sit about this high. I wanna put a sink in my table with running water. I'm gonna split this so the hose can go one way and the other to my sink. So here is the frame of the table. It is made from 2x4s and cedar wood. The cut list and materials I will include at the end of this video along with a more in-depth diagram. So first step is to cut the frame pieces down to length. The shelving and middle legs can be cut later once the frame is assembled. I'm running all of the frame 2x4 pieces through my table saw to get one clean edge first. Now that clean edge is going against the fence and I'm going to rip it down to my desired width, which is 3¼ inch. The tabletop is not on my diagram, so I'm going to start cutting down those pieces to 17½ inches long. I'm using a bunch of cedar boards that I had already, so these scrap pieces are all different widths. So I'm just going to use these to make my tabletop. All the boards that are part of the frame, except for the 4 corner legs, are getting pocket holes. So this is what I want for the shelves, for the slats to sit flush. So I just cut this. I did this as a practice to make sure that I get this at the correct length. The bottom stretcher boards are going to get a rabbet on one of the top corners. I have my fence set to 1/2 inch and the height of my blade is also set to 1/2 inch. Doing this felt kind of sketchy, to be honest. With a thick 2x4, it's a lot safer, but on my practice run, I was using a scrap block and that really didn't feel safe. So if I were to do something smaller, I need to do this in a different way. Okay. There. And I want it to be 4 inches from the ground, so I have my block here. I just put the scrap here to hold it. Measure where you would like to put this middle board because the top of this board is going to be the height of your shelf. 8½. So now I got this one. I got my 2 sides. I have these 1/2 inch blocks that I'm using to make sure that this board is flush with this board. And I have like this little 1/8 inch shim to make sure that it's flush on the bottom. For 2x4s, you're supposed to use 2½ inch pocket hole screws, but sometimes the screws would just go all the way through the other side. In some areas, I did use smaller pocket hole screws, 1½ inch, to bring the frame together and so that the screw didn't go all the way through. I also planed all of my 2x4s, so that's why in some areas, the longer screws would go all the way through. So I got real lucky that this already... I'm outlining the tote because I want it to sit flush with the frame. So this area, I'm going to use my router to remove this material. To see the length that I wanted to make the shelf, I needed to know where my sink was going to be placed, and then I put this block here to represent the middle leg. So I'm measuring to see how long to make the middle shelf. Each slat is 5½ inches, so I'm just going to do 2½ inches wide for the slats so I get the most out of the board. The new 2x4 pieces that I cut, I also have to bring those down to the same dimensions as my other 2x4s. And I also add a rabbet to the shelf boards. I highly recommend planing the boards that are going to be your shelf slats. That way everything is consistent and level. I waited to cut the slats to length until the frame was assembled. That way I can make sure that each individual slat fits in its spot. This is the left side. So I'm going to use one of the boards as a spacer. And that's where that one's going to start. Is there 1 inch? I was left with this gap at the end, but this is the side where the cabinet is going to be, so it will be out of sight. That's the cabinet side. Just gotta sand this now. The back middle leg, I decided to make it 1/2 inch more narrow than the front leg. I wanted to add a board that goes from one end to the other end to make the table stable so it doesn't wiggle. So I'm leaving room for that board that I'm going to add later. I added these spacer blocks to help keep the height of my shelf level with the other side. That way everything sits flush. This middle 2x4, you have to set 1/2 inch higher to match the slats. When I installed the miter saw on here, I didn't check that I could like reach the 45-degree angle. Look. Oh my god. So now I'm just gonna have to like move the saw up. So dumb. So I'm going to add this board that goes from edge to edge to keep the table stable. Now those corners were extreme angles. They go beyond what my miter saw can do. So I'm measuring those angles, which is 55 minus 45, and that gives me a 10-degree angle. I put a temporary fence and cut that to 45 degrees. Now I'm setting my blade to 10 degrees. Now to make this safe, I use double-sided tape, and this is going to hold my material that I'm going to cut. So I just line this up and cut. And now you have an extreme angle. This other half I'm going to glue together as one panel because the sink is going to go there. The portion of the tabletop that's going to go over the sink, I'm going to glue them together so I can easily remove it as one piece and put it back. See how this turned out. Please stop. Oh my god, yo. Look at that, bro. Dude, it came out flat. So happy about that. Yes. So I got really lucky that the edge of the frame
was the exact distance I needed for the router. I was also very scared to do this. I was dreading doing this part because I'm just not comfortable with the router, but once I get going, it's very easy. I think it's harder for me to set up the router than actually using it. But this was easy. I just slowly kept cutting until I reached the correct depth.
Oh! It's gonna be a fence. Oh my god, it's gonna be a fence! Look at that. Oh shit. Bruh. Really close. I forgot about that.
I'm installing these cedar boards so that way you can't see what's going on under the sink. This originally wasn't part of my plan, but just as you get going and building, this is something that I added to it after.
For the front of the sink, so it's just 1, 2, 3, 4 boards to the width of the opening, about leave an 1/8 inch gap in between. Board that goes across to hold them all together.
At the ends, there was still some movement on the boards, so I went ahead and added another board here. These are my door hinges. I found these in my garage. Now they have this lip here because they're meant for a faced frame. So I'm going to add a block under it to account for that gap. I shaped my boards to outline the hinge for the aesthetics. The double-sided tape holds my piece and I just align it with what I have outlined on my board.
Oh, so I'm just gonna put it like here.
This is a sticker magnet I had. It's actually meant for a phone, but I'm going to use it to keep my door shut. And this is an actual magnet for my fridge. I line it up how I like it, and then I glue this little block into place. I also added one at the bottom.
Now that this is done, I'm going to attach this table, well, just this piece now. So this piece is going to be able to come out, of course. So I'm going to drop this here, line it up. Now this piece I want to attach. That way when I take this off, I still have like something on a surface on the side if I need when I'm washing my hands or doing whatever. But I'm going to leave like the tiniest gap between these two so it's just easy to put in and out. What is this way? You know what? You have to do the ends first because it's going to move. I left a small gap in between. I don't even really need to add a handle to the door. It just stays.
This is 3/4 inch galvanized pipe for the faucet. Instead, we use this longer piece rather than the short one that's connected to the right angle. And I am so grateful that he knows plumbing and he's able to take over this part. There's so much threading and cream.
Here you got a goddamn copper pipe going to your goddamn indoor hose, but it's outdoors. Okay, now I'll be serious. Here you have a Y splitter, and then using some pipe thread sealant and Teflon tape, we sealed here and both here connecting to this reused indoor sink water hose. We added a seal inside of here too, and we did so up here as well. And this is all just connected to some galvanized pipe and then joined by a 90-degree angle, a cup link, and that other water outlet. So this will be part of the new sink.
Wow. There's a few things I didn't mention. One is this sink holder. I added this as just a precaution if there ever is a lot of weight in here, which I don't anticipate there ever being that much weight. But it's just 3 boards here. This one is pocket hole screwed into here, and so is this strip to here. So I just have them here just in case there's a lot of weight in there. It's also there to hold it. I also changed the direction of this backboard because of the faucet. And I also added a magnet down here as well. Something I forgot to consider is that wood moves. It's gonna expand. This already feels a little tight when I put it here. It also depends which way I put it. Like here, I have to shove it in. So maybe a bigger gap here would be better, or just making this a little smaller. And also, this is just glued together. If this is in the sun, it's gonna warp. So the only solution I have right now is just to keep it out of the sun. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. And this rack coming in more clutch because I can just hang towel here, put stuff here. I know I'm gonna end up putting like a soap here somehow. Yeah, just really excited.